Hello X-Factory friends and family. This is Paul Sinclair. We're here at the 2016 R.O.A.R National Championships at the HobbyPlex in Omaha, Nebraska. And Chaz and I are here to show you guys what the track looks like, up close and personal with added commentary. And I'm sure you guys are really more interested in the video than our commentary, but we're gonna get going as we can. We're gonna start out here on the straightaway. And the end of the straightaway is kind of your typical sweeper, except for that drop off. Chaz uploaded some early track pictures, and you can really see, there's about a 3-foot drop off from where I am here down to the line. And it's not particularly hard. The groove is good and consistent. It's really smooth, but it is pretty easy with the suspension going downhill to overload that outside tire, and you see quite a number of guys flipping off into the dust and peanuts over here on the right.
That is the start-finish line there.
This is the start-finish line here. It is interesting that it's not at the end of the main straight, but rather around the corner. And so, we might see some really interesting finishes. Even just for the seeding rounds, we've seen some guys really send it in hard at the end of their race if they're on their third good lap. After the straightaway, we have kind of a flat corner and then another like drop-off. Maybe that's the theme of this track, is these drop-offs. You can see the accumulation of rubber because cars are leaving the surface and getting a lot of wheel spin coming out of the corner, wearing off that rubber and depositing it right here once the car leaves the ground, only to set down just a few feet down the track and make this hard right-hand corner. Other than flying off the end of the straightaway, you're not seeing a whole lot of wrecks. Guys are staying nice and tight, and this is a pretty easy part of the track, I'd say. Through these singles, I was hoping when I first showed up that you might be able to like single double or double single or some kind of combination to go a little faster through here, but it really is just kind of plop, plop, plop. You kind of pick a medium speed and give it some throttle, and I don't see a lot of guys making up much time here. I don't see a lot of guys losing time. Some guys are staying real close on the inside. You can see the line through the second day of practice here. The line is really widened out on this track. And so you see some guys just carrying as much speed as they can, broadening out the corner and making this kind of one big sweeper with the 3 little rollers. There is a tricky section following it though here, as we have this hard right and now we're headed uphill. And you guys have seen in some of the practice videos that we've put on, we've talked about how tight lines Dustin Evans carries especially, but all the fast guys are really, they're putting their car within 2 inches of the pipe here, whether they were taking the wide line or the inside. You're kind of just driving uphill here, not a whole lot of air. You can see kind of a gap in the rubber where the tires aren't touching the ground, or even if they are, the suspension is unloaded right here. So, there's a bit of a face here. The cars are loading, the suspension unloads, but then guys are getting it back down on the ground quickly to make an inside corner here. And this is again where that Dustin Evans, some other guys were super tight. You want your left wheel on this paint. That's the fast line around here. It's really easy to get kind of upset, and I haven't seen a lot of guys wrecking up here, but it's a test of skill because it's really easy to lose maybe 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, if you're not making the left hand with your car settled. You want to get your car settled in here and then turn and drive uphill. And if you're carrying too much speed from that previous jump, you're kind of jumping into the face here. I see a lot of 4-wheel drive buggies especially do this. You're kind of jumping into the face here, and then they're ending up out here instead of nice and tight against that tube. The step off here, pretty easy and simple. Alex did a great job. Alex of the HobbyPlex did an amazing job building these jumps. The lips are perfect. They're nice and even. I haven't really noticed any like high spots or low spots terribly. And so this step down, this might be my favorite section of the track. The rhythm here is just really good. Alex spaced these jumps just perfectly. You get a perfect run up. The lip isn't very big, but it just sets you down nicely back here, and you can just pin it. Mod, stock, buggy, short course, 4-wheel, you just pin it. You grab a handful of throttle and come down through here, and then of course, you've built up all that speed on the downside, so you want to scrub it. You really want to scrub the speed getting on this step up now. And you can just see how much chassis slapping there is, how much wear there is on this surface. All these grooves, of course, there's all the rubber buildup from the tires, but then all these grooves are where the bumpers are digging in, or, T-pieces or tail piece of cars are digging in. Quite a lot going back on this on this back step up because guys are carrying just so much incredible speed into it. You can see it is, you know, if you scrub too much speed, you can see all these divots from guys that are shorting it. And of course, that's a kind of boneheaded mistake when you do that as a driver. You're just like, oh no, man, it's the easiest part of the track, it feels like. But it is, you got to be careful, because coming through this corner, this is a sharper left than you might imagine. And we're kind of the furthest away from, I mean, besides the corners of the track, we're really far from the driver's stand back here. And it's tough to judge this corner. And if you didn't scrub enough speed, it's really easy to land far out here, you know? I mean, you can blow your landing zone by 3, 4, 5, 6 feet out here. And now, you know, if we're out here in no man's land, you can see how much rubber is out here, right? But it's really hard to get the car turned back in tight. And the fast guys, you know, they're scrubbing the speed properly, they're pitching their car in the air, and they're landing somewhere in here. And they're with that pitch in the air, they're turning around the corner before the car even touches down. The step downs here, kind of the central feature of the track, not too difficult. There's no real lip on these, so you're not getting a lot of air, you're not getting a lot of, you know, lift. You can, you know, if you look, you can just see it's just rolled smooth. And again, we can see from the rubber where the cars are leaving the ground. We can see, you know, they're not getting a lot of air because we're touching down, you know, right in here. As we move down the steps, there's not really, I mean, guys are, you know, you're staying tight up there as tight as you can, and you're coming diagonally down here, and you're getting as tight as you can before this big triple jump. I will say this is really a big test for cars and setups of having on-power steering, right? Because you're coming down these steps and you're still going kind of slow. You can see how much chassis rub we're getting, all these lines from the drag of the cars. Your Infinity carbon fiber chassis landing and absorbing that, you know. But we're making a sharp corner here, more than 90 degrees, maybe like 120, 130, and you got to pick up the throttle as soon as you can, at least in modified, to have a shot at clearing this triple. And the really fast guys are making it look super easy, but if you're not carrying corner speed, if you're just coming to a halt here, you're not going to have the speed to make the triple, at least not easier. Whereas the guys whose cars are really just rolling through here, they can pick up the throttle and they have plenty of time to jump and get their car the attitude and the way that they want. Again, props to Alex, man. Props to Alex here at the HobbyPlex. Look at that jump face. It is perfectly consistent. There's no, maybe a tiny low spot right here, but I tell you what, I think this track is in the very best of them, you know, among the very best of them in terms of just having really consistent jump faces. And that's going to let the best in the world battle it out, the best here in the US battle it out, you know, instead of like, oh, there's only one line off this jump face. You know, if there's one part of the jump that's higher and one part that's lower, one of those is going to be faster. But when you have a nice, smooth, consistent jump face, you can really just hit wherever you want and, you know, choose your lines and let the track lets the drivers battle it out. Continuing on, you really get a sense of scale of this triple. I mean, it's at least knee high, if 2.5, 3 feet. And the stock guys are all 2 and 1, and I don't think I've seen a stock guy able to clear this yet. And you can see this is a good example of what the track surface is doing. If Chaz will come closer with the camera. Come here, Chaz. Careful with your footing. There we go.
I got it zoomed in on there.
So like you can see, we've talked about where the track is taking rubber, right? But it's really this kind of interesting surface because it does peel away. And I mean, obviously this is a landing zone where you're getting a lot of bumpers and a lot of noses digging in and scraping the track away. But once that surface breaks apart, like the dirt beneath it is just really crumbly, sandy stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why the traction is so interesting here, is because there's a mix of these really big grained sand and a little bit of clay, and the clay is holding moisture and giving you that grip, that stickiness, but the sand means that, you know, you can't build up too much rubber, it just kind of rolls away. And we'll see that down here in the corner past the triple, these switchbacks. You can see a few guys have endoed pretty hard, but not too bad. Of course, landing the triple, the big thing is to get your car slowed down and tight and just make this corner. You know, I'd say if you're not on the paint here, you've blown your line. It really is that tight, and that the racing here is so close together. The seeding rounds were decided by, I mean, hundreds of seconds in some cases. Continuing on though, let's talk more about the surface, right? You can see the dust build up, and this is why I'm saying you better be on the paint, because just a foot or 2 feet outside, we're getting some dust here. They are blowing off the track every couple of hours, but if you don't have that fresh track, man, you better be inside of that, because the minute your tires are hitting this, you're losing traction. And what's really interesting about this dust is it's not really dirt. I don't know if you can see here on the video, but it's actually rubber. It's pieces of rubber that are peeling off tires that are you know, rolling off the tires, rolling off the tread. So the tires are wearing here, but this is about the maximum buildup of rubber the dirt is taking. The line's not going to get any darker than this, because any more rubber and it just starts to slide off the track. And I think that's the effect of the sand in the dirt that's kind of causing it to crumble rather than build up. You know, if it was a pure clay track, it would just take traction. These switchbacks really require a lot of rotation. My personal car, like this might be the section I'm struggling with the most on this track, is just getting my car to steer. And you want that controllable rotation where you can initiate the corner and your car pivots almost like it's on a central axis. But then as soon as you pick up the throttle, you want it to shoot forward and not over rotate. And it really is, I mean, it's just a pure switchback. You know, you make a hard right-hand corner and you gun it as hard as you can, slam on the brakes, and make it, you know, try to drift around this second corner. This double, not much to it. Stock guys, mod guys, everyone's clearing it pretty easy. I have seen some mod guys actually jumping out as far as they can, trying to carry speed, you know. So like if you're trying to downside the double, you got to slow down here, but you can speed up once you downside. Other guys are saying, you know, I'm going to go as fast as I can through this section and just jump out as far as I can. You can see all kind of, you know, the line is really wide here. Guys are coming in tight, guys are coming in wide. It really flows, this double out of that chicane, out of that switchback, flows really well. It's really fun as a driver when you get your car to rotate correctly and you pick up the throttle, and then you rotate, you pick up the throttle, and you hit this jump. It's a really nice feeling. Alex, again, did a heck of a job with the layout on this one. This back left corner, again, we're getting pretty far from the driver's stand. It's kind of darker back here. You can see, you know, if the skylights aren't bright with sunlight. What's been interesting to me is that this corner has really developed some bumps and some ruts. This is probably the roughest part of the track. I don't know if you guys can really see, you know, but we have like a high side, low. It's almost like a wave of track surface, you know, high part, low part. You can see some footprints back here, like there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. So I don't know if maybe it was walked on when the track was still really, really fresh. You can see the tractors back here in the corner, so maybe this is the last part they built. It really surprised me the last seeding round today, just how rough this back portion of the track was getting. And again, coming out of this left-hand corner, you can just see all the dust that's gathered in the low parts. Watching, you know, I stood over here off the track and I was watching some guys, cars, and I was just amazed at how much suspension movement they were getting. Not just the chassis leaning over for the corner, but I mean the independent, you know, absorbing all these bumps and ruts. Here's kind of another slight option line. Again, a nice, real smooth, consistent jump face. But you can choose to either scrub your speed on the jump face and try to downside perfectly on the back of this double, or I've seen a lot of guys just launching their car straight into the face of that, you know, step up for the corner getting on the straightaway. Kind of, to me, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. You know, it's up to the driver to see what they're most consistent with. But we're getting towards the end of the lap here. You're breathing a sigh of relief. You can see a lot of cars slamming into this. Again, we're getting a lot of that chassis scrape, you know, where the rubber built up and then the chassis are scraping it away. But before you can breathe a sigh of relief, you jump off here, and if Chaz will follow me, you're landing, you really get, you know, off that double, you get a good speed. You come up off the off this jump face, and you know, you're landing. I've seen especially the four-wheel drive buggies are landing in the corner, you know, really pitching the car hard and trying to land and get around this corner as fast as they can. Unfortunately, and this caught me out in the first round of seeding today, there's a bit of a divot here. You can see again all that rubber collecting because the tires are leaving the ground and they're leaving their rubber behind. And there's another kind of hump here and a divot here. And if you're inside, if you're way inside, it's a nice smooth line. But if you're just 12 inches off the pipe and you're carrying a lot of speed trying to go down the straightaway as fast as you can, if you're just 12 inches off the pipe, these two little ridges are causing a lot of havoc getting on the straightaway. The final thing I'd say, you know, is there's just this drop off here, and there's as long as you're set up well and those two bumps don't throw you, you just set your car down. You can see again a lot of chassis scraping going on. These are some big ruts down here, but you just set your car down and punch it fast as you can. So that's a lap around the 2016 R.O.A.R National Championships track. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next time.